Hello, 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 all of you amazing, bold, beautiful, brazen trailblazers. We are here for another training, another free training for all of you female trailblazers who are just coming out of the woodwork. You guys, we are in such a beautiful time where women are really looking at what their life is, if it aligns with what they truly are meant for. And then they're taking all of these beautiful, courageous actions towards living their most highest vision, right? Their highest vision, their most beautiful life, their favorite life, and just really starting to believe in themselves. And I don't know if that's what you guys are seeing out there, but I know that this is what I'm seeing, especially within my program and in the Women on the Rise private Facebook group. So yes, welcome to training day. I love it. Every Thursday. Oh, that brings me to the point of not next Thursday. Next Thursday, we are taking a slight break. You guys are going to be able to see me enjoying Long Island with my daughter as we go on a college tour. So I'm super excited about that. But we do have, the good news is we do have an opportunity for you to actually spend 90 minutes with me. So for anybody that missed the Align with Your Legacy Masterclass, we are having another. Hey, Crystal. Ooh, Crystal was there for the last masterclass. If you even want to come to it again, you can register, sign up for it again, and be with me for another 90 minutes. I am telling you, it is phenomenal. We had such great responses. So we are doing it again and at a different time because we recognize that some people can't make it during the day. So we're having another Align with Your Legacy next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So super excited about that. So even though we're not going to have the free training next week, we will have that 90-minute masterclass. So be sure to register, sign up, just be there. Because it truly is transformational. It takes you through a lot of the inner workings of what we do here at the Institute for Female Trailblazers and just the Legacy Academy and creating this awareness so that you can truly align with your life's purpose. Because the further away we get away from our life's purpose, the more suffering we actually engage in or encounter. So anyways, yes, we are here to actually talk about what it means to be a trailblazer, what it means to be a visionary, and you'll hear me use these terms interchangeably. Now, before I dive into it, first of all, I just want to say hello to everybody. Please, as you're coming in, say hi to us. Let us know that you're here. A lot of times we'd love to see where everybody's coming in from. We have women all over the world. As you will see, Renee is here with me, and she is your success advisor at the Institute for Female Trailblazers. So you'll probably see some messages from her on Instagram and Facebook. We are here to support you and guide you through this entire process because as trailblazers and visionaries, what you're going to see is that we need a tremendous amount of support because our visions are so big. So say hello, where you're coming in from. We love, and all the women like in my program and in the group, they truly do connect on such a deep level. And you'll see them like, I don't know, hopefully this will be your experience too, but they like fly all over just to like meet and hang out. And some of them go on like weekend vacations together and super, super cool. So anyways, so that's what we're here for. So, also, if you need the handout, please put handout, please, in the comments, and we'll make sure to get that handout to you. All of the free trainings come with a handout. I know I love handouts. I love to know what's going on and what the key points are and takeaways are. So, speaking of key points and takeaways, how many people in here have ever felt sort of like, how do I put this? Sort of like the black sheep, right? Like you're growing up and maybe you feel like you don't necessarily fit in and you can't really pinpoint it, but you just sort of have this internal feeling of just like something's different about me. Put a yes in the comments if that's you. Have you ever been told that you're too big of a dreamer? Put a yes in the comments. Like just put, I'm a dreamer. We do have the Dare to Dream that is happening. That's the challenge for this month. So if you are not part of the Instagram or connected to me on Instagram at the Institute Female Trailblazers, be sure to follow, because that's where the Dare to Dream challenge is. So yes, always. Hey, Shannon. Oh, hey, Crystal. So being able to recognize that we have this, a lot of times we're told that we're big dreamers to get our head out of the clouds, that maybe we're too sensitive. Anybody else get that too? Put a yes in the comments. And you really try hard to actually fit in with society. You really do. We typically do. And in the earlier years, maybe not so much now, but typically in the earlier years, we're just trying to figure shit out. We're just trying to figure out where we fit, what's going on. We try on all these different, coats. So yeah, so sensitive about everything. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Always the black sheep. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me. Is that something that you guys, that resonates with you? Put a yes in the comments. That it's just like, why can't I just fit in? Why can't I, something's wrong with me. Something must be wrong with me. And that's how I internalized it. And as I grew and as I went through my journey of just my journey, I call it the journey back to ourselves, right? This journey back to who I truly am, my authentic self. What do I like? What do I not like? What do I, so many of us feel lost, right? And again, that's why suffering occurs, is because we are lost and our soul knows that sort of we're I hate to say off track a little bit, but yes. Sensitive things. Absolutely. So being able to just recognize that, like, on this journey back to myself, there were so many, I'm a psychotherapist myself. I used to shame myself and get like really critical of myself, of just like, you should know better, Leanne. Like, you should be blah, 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 whatever. We all have that inner critic part of us. And so through my journey of just a lot of mentors, a lot of spiritual counseling, a lot of personal counseling, energetic counseling, and then my own journey into those areas as well, and becoming, those instructors of just like having all of this knowledge, actually experiencing it myself, I have found that, finding who we truly are, finding our voice, using our voice, and not being afraid. Well, I won't say not being afraid, because there is some fear there, but doing it scared. Still taking that step. I want you to put that in the comments. Doing it scared. Still taking that step, recognizing like there's some fear there, and that is very much our conditioned self. Which again, if you come to the masterclass, we'll dive a little bit more into. We also have another masterclass coming up in May, the beginning of May. I'm like, what month is it? So where we'll talk more about it. But that's very much our conditioned self, is the fear. So our authentic self is seeing the fear and still taking that step. So that's what we are here to do today, is just to uncover, right? As a visionary, what are our typical, how do we hold ourselves back? And what do we do? How do we embrace this power that we were given, because we were told that we were too big of dreamers and we were too sensitive, and then we try to quiet our voice and dim our light, and that leads to so much suffering. So being able to we all need that's why I said there's a tremendous support that needs to go into really following this path for you, because you are such a visionary. Because a lot of the ideas that we have are typically not, they're becoming more and more, I don't want to say mainstream, but more awareness is being brought, because we have more people awakening, more women awakening. So it's really cool to be able to watch this. But yeah, having that support to still do it scared, I know that's what I needed, because I would get right to that tipping point of like, oh my gosh, this is a really big thing. And then I'd be like, I'd come up with 10 million excuses of why I couldn't move forward with it. Right. And they were very realistic to me, of just like, now's not the right time. I'm the breadwinner of my family. There's no way I can step out and start my own, my own business. Just be happy for what you have. Like, there's so much that happens, life happens. I want to be with my daughter. I want to go to all the games, blah, blah, blah. We can come up with so many reasons. And again, it doesn't mean that they're not happening. It just means that we are coming up with excuses of like reasons to stay small. So that is me lovingly holding you accountable, because I know I was there too. So, what are we looking at as far as the characteristics of a visionary? So, I sort of went through in the beginning, even just like, hey, are you a big thinker? Hey, did you ever feel like the black sheep? Did you ever feel like something's wrong with you? Do you ever, were you ever told these things? Because oftentimes when we are younger, people don't really understand us as visionaries. We are born, our soul is brought into this world as a visionary, as this like individual, the soul that is meant to create big change in the world. And, I'm just thinking the one that really stands out for me is Martin Luther King Jr., where, so many people didn't understand it. And so many people criticized him for his dream. And I mean, he was resistant towards it too, because he knew the responsibility of it. So even just recognizing that, but that's just one person where it's just like oftentimes we come before everybody else is ready. I think of Marianne Williamson, right, and her running for candidacy, right, for presidency, and people laughing at her because she has this vision of compassion, of people working together compassionately, lovingly. And maybe a lot of individuals are not ready for that, which is really sad because she is so phenomenal. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She is like the guru on the Course of Miracles. She's so cool. She's just so loving. And she talks about like our fears of not being, our fear isn't that we're going to fail. It's actually that we're going to be successful beyond our wildest dreams. And then what does that bring up for us, right? And that's something that we talk about in the Legacy Academy as well, is just, the fears that come up as we're stepping into this big vision, as we're stepping into this mission. Okay. So with those 5 characteristics of a visionary, when we are, and we touched on this some, there's a lot of imagination and creativity. Anybody out here do you ever feel like you are the epitome of just like like a dog that looks at a squirrel, it's like squirrel, 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 or that bright shiny light and you're like all over the place because you just have such so many different ideas. Yeah, that imagination and creativity. And what people tell us is that like we're too scattered. And that can be true too. So I'm going to go into, again, this can be a pitfall for us because we do have so many different ideas. Anybody out there, put a yes in the comments. So many different ideas, so many different ways that we want to transform the world. And sometimes we just don't know where to start. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're just looking at the characteristics. Now, something that I love about this imagination, there are, my husband always says I have squirrel moments. Same. I mean, like my husband would always be like, it's about that time that you get bored of your job and change. Well, it's because I wasn't meant to be in corporate. It only took me like 35 years to figure that out, 37. But at least I figured it out. So being able to recognize, what I was saying is that Albert Einstein, he actually said imagination is more powerful than wisdom. And I just love that quote because it truly is. It's so funny. I was talking to another one of my colleagues, my friends. I really, she's just such a beautiful person. She's also a coach. She's an author. And she was talking, we were talking about just like the things that we love to do and how wild of an imagination we always had when we were kids, and we could play for hours by ourselves, right? And that's the thing. It's, if you can resonate with that, put a yes in the comments, right? You have this imagination, you have this creativity, this gift of creativity. So then another characteristic, because we have all of these ideas, we really can think about that big picture. We have that big picture thinking. We can see possibilities. We can see what's possible before anybody else can. We have this, again, these are such beautiful gifts. But again, with that, well, I'm going to hop ahead of myself, is that, sometimes it's hard to bring those big visions into fruition. So we just sort of give up. So being able to recognize that we see something that's so big and so expansive. And sometimes it's just like, well, how the fuck am I going to get there? you know? So again, looking at that as a characteristic, or as I like to call them, the spiritual gifts, right? We have so many spiritual gifts. And this is one of our gifts, is big picture thinking. Another gift that was often highly criticized and maybe even created some shame for us is this risk taking, right? We are risk takers. As visionaries, we are risk takers. And again, this can go back. I want you to think way back into even childhood and seeing like what kind of risks. It's so interesting. I had this interview with Shout Out Atlanta, that was one of their questions, is like risk taking. That was the one that I was actually drawn to. There were so many questions that you could answer, and one of them was just like, how has risk taking played a part in your life, and even in entrepreneurship? And when I started thinking back, I said, oh my gosh, I would take so many risks. I never really put two and two together. Whether it be jumping off of a cliff into the water, or jumping off the railroad tracks into the water, or, riding my bike down a big old hill without a helmet because we didn't wear helmets as kids. Anybody else? So being able to recognize that we are risk takers. We have been for the majority of our lives, and we have been told that that's not a good thing, right? Especially as women. It's very interesting. I won't get into the intricate details or the stats or anything like that of just male, like male versus female of risk taking. Risk taking for females is looked down upon. Risk taking for males is like applauded. Okay. So again, another reason why I got into what I'm doing is because of these gaps. And wanting to definitely did not wear the helmets. So that risk taking is a key characteristic of a visionary. Another is that leadership. You have this characteristic of leadership. So people would often follow you. You wouldn't even think anything about it, right? That people would like look to you to see what to do, or like where to go, or what to, whatever project you were working on, they would often look to you. And again, this could be as childhood. And here's the other thing too. And I like to identify how these characteristics they could have actually been, how do I want to say, like dimmed, right? Or created into a negative thing, is because when women stepped into leadership, we were considered bossy. Stop being so bossy. Let people do what they want to do, like all of that stuff. And you hear that a lot of times, not just from your peers, but from adults too. So again, I want you to think back and sort of just recognize, have you taken that leadership role? And even in, as a psychotherapist, it wasn't enough for me to be a psychotherapist. I wanted to lead teams. I wanted to, right? And that's what led me to like climbing the corporate ladder and being an executive director. So leadership is another key characteristic. And then innovation is another characteristic. So it goes with that big thinking, and it goes with being able to see the big picture. Is that we create new ways to look at things, new ways to create services and products, right? I remember seeing like a whole list of like, these are the innovators, the trailblazers of what females actually created. And I mean, it's in technology, it's in the mechanics, it's in services, it's in, nonprofits. We are the biggest philanthropists as well. You would not guess that, but being able to look at some of the statistics as far as philanthropy, we actually are givers. We give back, I want to say it's like 93%, and men usually give back around 84%. 8% or something. I can't remember. I know that I ran a statistic. It's in my blog. Check out my website if you want to know more. But yeah, I'm always told the leader. I was bossy, nosy, over curious. You see how these things like impact us, and then we start backing down, right? So those are the key characteristics of a visionary. So because of these, again, with everything, I always look at the pros and the cons, right? It's like this like double-edged sword. I always say this. It's like, we have this fear of failure, we have this fear of success. It's all together. So being able to look at how we have this, we have the ability to look at the big picture. We have this imagination. We take risks. We are leaders. We are known for innovation. So we have some pitfalls along with that too, our blind spots, right? And being able to recognize our blind spots is so imperative to be able to then, how do we deal with them? How do we just accept them, deal with them, and so that we can keep moving forward, because our mission is meant to be out there. We are meant to fulfill it, and we are meant to live our legacy every single day, right? So one of the pitfalls is actually, because we do have this big picture thinking and this creativity, is that we can become very overwhelmed, and we can often have unrealistic expectations for others, for others too, but also for ourselves. And that's why we get into like being highly critical of ourselves and everything. But the overwhelm comes from just like, I don't know which direction to go in first, right? I can't figure out which way to do this. And just being able to recognize that. And that's why, again, I have my own coach. That's why women hire me, is because it's like, help me figure out the step by step. Like, I have all of these ideas. How do I, and a lot of times before we even get there, like, we'll just give up. I did that for 10 years. I tried to figure it out on my own, stepped in and out of entrepreneurship while always having a job, having my corporate job. And it's just like, I would just get so overwhelmed. And then with the unrealistic expectations, like for myself, if I didn't hit my goal, I'd be like, see, there you go. I failed again. Why am I even doing this? Right? It's just, anybody else relate to that? I know I'm not the only one here. So being able to be aware of that can be our pitfall as a visionary. Another is that we may be a little bit resistant to change. We just have this idea of how things are meant to be, and we have a difficult time sort of accepting that, things aren't working out exactly the way that we want them to, or that, things aren't lining up the way that we planned them to line up. So that creates this shift. Or we keep on doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity. So I know for me, I was so resistant to change, and it kept me stuck over and over and over. I had a difficult time looking at reality as it was, which really kept me stuck. So that's just another pitfall to look out for. And all these pitfalls are things that I have gone through personally, that I help women through, and I have researched because I am a women's empowerment expert, right? Being able to recognize just like what we all go through. You're not alone. I want you to hear that. Another pitfall is our lack of focus. Again, because we have such an imagination and such a creative spark, we can lose focus easily. And this often happens too when things are not happening as quick as we want them to. So, having those squirrel moments, having like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I remember the first time, or one of the first times I was meeting with my coach, she was just like, I see you. I know you have so many ideas, and we are just going to stay focused on this one thing. I promise you all of these other things are going to come. And they have, right? But it really took a lot of corralling and just that reassurance of it's going to happen, but let's just stay focused. Let's stay focused. So again, when you recognize that, you're not alone. Another pitfall is actually isolation and communication challenges. As we are stepping into this visionary role, how much time do we have? Not enough. It's already 12:25. When we are stepping into this role, it can feel very alone. And that is why it is so imperative to have a community around you. You can go into isolation trying to figure out who do I even align? Who can I connect with? People don't see things the way I do. And communication challenges is more about trying to get that big dream into How do I present it to people? How do I even, and this was something that I struggled with, and a lot of the women I work with struggle with, and a lot of my colleagues, you know, in the beginning phases of their holistic business struggle with, is like, how do I even express the transformation that I'm trying to, or that I am creating in this world? Not trying to, but am creating, right? So it can feel very lonely as you're going through this. And there's, oh gosh, again, I can speak so much to this because there was a huge fear that I had in losing the people that I already were connected with as I expanded into, you know, my higher levels. So and this is, again, higher levels spiritually, within my business, within the possibilities, all of that. And then the last pitfall that I want to identify is this burnout and the self-doubt, right? As we're growing, as we're expanding, we can get into this, like, I got to do, which is very conditioned. It's very masculine energy, which I talk about too within like other trainings and program. Is that like we have been conditioned to just do. Like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and the tasks. And it's very important to have your list. And it's so important to come from inspiration so that we don't burn out, so that we're constantly aware of this. And there's so many different dimensions of like when you are taking on that role, or like actually embracing the role that you're a visionary, is that we look at, because we have such a big mission, we can work a lot. And people might think of it as workaholism, or, you know, however, but it's like, we are very passionate about what we do. So being able to be aware of like, okay, am I having other things in my life that really fill me up? Because we are so fulfilled when we're living in our purpose. But the self-doubt also comes in as like we're growing and expanding, and people are looking to us, and we're stepping into that leadership role. You know, imposter syndrome is something that 75% of us actually, of women, actually experience, compared to 24% of men. So another reason why having a community is so important to you. Okay, so I know I want to go into unleashing the powers. Now that we've talked about the pitfalls, I want to talk about your powers as a visionary. So our powers, you know, in addition to all of the characteristics and the gifts that we bring into this world, is that we are actually able to cultivate resiliency and adaptability. Because as we're moving forward, we are able to shift our mindset. We're able to challenge our mindset. We as visionaries, our mission and our vision, right? Our purpose, our legacy in this planet, is so big, and it's so important for us to follow. So we will continue, again, with the right support, with the right mentorship, we'll continue, and we will cultivate so much resiliency. We will create so much ability. So like so many abilities to be adaptable and pivot quickly. So that is a fucking superpower. Let me tell you, especially when the only constant thing is change, right? But I want you to put that in the comments. Like, the only constant is change, and being able to shift within that. So that's truly a power that we have. If you ever, oh my gosh, there are so many good books out there, but this one just came as I was talking to other people yesterday, or it was at one of the networking groups that I was at. It was Phil Knight, right? Shoe Dog. Talk about resiliency and adaptability. That was such a good book. Okay. Another, like unleashing your power as a visionary, is your ability. So like your superpower is your ability to create a support network, to actually connect with people. And when we find our way to do that, when we find our people, right? I always say, I have this blog that it's standing out to fit in. When we finally embrace all of the things that we are, and we get out there and we stand out, then that will attract the people that we're meant for, right? So we are able to build a really strong support network. Another power that we have as visionaries, and that actually helps us to unleash our powers, is our ability to develop time management and prioritization skills. Now, it still is hard to say for me, because I'm telling you, I had so much resistance around this. Now, some people, they come in, they're like, I like schedules, I like to prioritize, I like this. But when I had so much resistance around that because of corporate, where I was just like, nobody's going to tell me what to do, including myself. Like my conditioned self kicked up tenfold. And I was like, nope, I'm not making a schedule. I'm just going to feel into it. Totally like, went the other way. And I was like, holy crap, I need a schedule. I need to manage my time and be able to know what am I supposed to be doing, right? So once I'm able to do that, I truly am like a powerhouse, right? Once I can get out of my own way and actually follow through with my time management and prioritizing my skills appropriately, we are powerhouses. And that's something too, right? As a visionary, we have this capability, and to know that it's within us to create that prioritization in our life. And then being able to embrace failure as a learning opportunity. This is really, again, this is within us to create that shift. Now, a lot of these I know it takes time to create, right? Where it takes time to release the limiting beliefs of like, I'm not good with my time. I hate failure. I'm fearful of failure. Like there's so many layers that go underneath this. But once we can actually heal those limiting beliefs and challenge those limiting beliefs, which is what I do in my program, or else, because if we don't get to the underlying issues, we're just doing topical changes and they're short lasting. They're not going to get you to where you want to be. They're not going to get you to your highest vision and purpose. Okay. So when we're looking at embracing failure as a learning opportunity, again, I keep on thinking of Shoe Dog with Phil Knight. He's the owner of Nike, and embracing failure as a learning opportunity. It was just like, okay. And that resiliency that was built. This is such a freaking superpower that we have as visionaries, is to actually shift our mindset and choose differently how we see failure. It's opportunities to learn always. And the last is our power to practice self-care and mindfulness. Okay. This is something that we have because we are expansive thinkers, because we have that ability to think beyond what's possible. So when a lot of individuals, they come, as visionary women, practicing that self-care and that mindfulness really helps to unleash that power that we already have inside of us. To like when we're taking care of ourselves, we are able to see the impact it has on our mission and our vision, right? So being able to look at that as a superpower, and everything that I identified up there as characteristics as a visionary is your superpower. Again, we were often made to think that that is not our superpower, but it is, right? So how do we integrate this into day-to-day choices? So of course, this is shit that you have heard before, I'm sure. And I always say it's simple, not easy. I want you to put that in the comments. Simple, not easy. When we talk about, like, the first is setting clear goals and objectives every single day. I do that. And you've heard it. You've probably read it in Atomic Habits. You've probably read it in 10 million other books. But why aren't we doing it? Right? Why aren't we doing it? And that's why I say it's simple, not easy. It's because of these underlying fears, these underlying messages that we're constantly telling ourselves, because we have anywhere from 65 to 95,000 thoughts per day. The average is probably around 69,000 thoughts per day. We're only aware of 10% of them. So why we're not doing the things that we know are going to work is because we have these messages, these underlying messages saying, like, I'm too busy. I can't do this. I'm not good with my time. I'm always late. I'm doing this, blah, 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 whatever. So anyways, but when we're looking at all of our powers, all of our superpowers, some of those pitfalls, to help us through those, to help us really harness and embrace both of them, right? The pitfalls and the power and the characteristics that we have. Setting clear goals and objectives is going to be a game changer for you. And again, that's why every single morning I look at what are not just my tasks, but like, what are my goals and what are the intentions that I want to set around them. The second is making decisions aligned with your vision. something that we say in the program over and over and over and over, and I will say this here now and probably in multiple other, trainings, is that we want to start from inspiration. We want to start with inspiration to make sure that my decisions, my goals, my objectives for the day are aligned with my vision. And my vision must be aligned with that deeper sense of inspiration into the world, right? The third is that to make sure that we're communicating our vision effectively. Thank goodness for Renee, because she asks questions that sometimes I don't think of. As a visionary, I'm thinking up here and like I need people to say, well, what about this? What about this? How are we going to do this? Or like, what about this? Right? What about this over here? Or what about, just breaking it down for me. And again, like people are aligned. I know one of my other assistants and that I started off with, Megan, she started with me in the very beginnings. And she was one of those too that just like really broke it down. Well, what about this? And then, well, this has to link to this, blah, 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 right? So in being able to communicate our vision effectively, that is going to be such a key in our day-to-day working. And then the other is seeking feedback and just continuous improvement, right? And that's why that developing that like embracing failure as a learning opportunity is so important, is because we are seeking feedback. We are seeking continuous improvement. We want to make sure that, again, everything that we know as a visionary, we want that we're meant to put into this world is actually being translated effectively, right? So that's why we're seeking feedback. That's why we're looking for continuous improvements. It's not saying that we're not good enough right now. It's saying we're really good, right? Like we're good. We are freaking on point. And guess what? I can expand even higher. How cool is that? Put a yes in the comments if you agree. And then the last integration of visionary insights into day-to-day choices is balancing the long-term vision with the short-term actions. Long-term vision with short-term actions, right? So when we're looking at this, it's because we often live up here of like what can be, and we love to daydream, right? Our daydreams are meant to be right here, right now. So am I, sort of like, how do I want to say, prioritizing effectively as to like, what do I need to do today in order to get me there? Right. And I know for me, it was just, this was something that my coach helped me with so much, where I still have this big vision, right? And it shifts and changes and molds and morphs, every day. It's still the same mission. It's still the same intention and the same legacy that I want to leave, but like it just changes. The more we become aware of what's possible, the different things come into our awareness. So anyways, I had this big vision of like, I want to have this huge retreat center. I want to have this, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it feels like, and this is why I want to use it, and this and that. And I don't want any venture capitalists, because there is no way I'm going to have somebody telling me what I can and cannot do with my place. Anybody with me? Put a yes in the comments. So being able to recognize that, and she was like, this is beautiful. I love this vision. And where can we start creating some money, cash flow, right? And something that inspires you and something that still aligns with this vision so that you can get to that place, right? So it was just so helpful to have that. So bringing that all to fruition. So that was, Are You a Visionary? The Pitfalls and Powers. And, it seems like we have some pretty strong visionaries here, which I was pretty sure of. And now that you're more aware of it, it's like, what do you want to do with this? How do you want to move forward with this information? And again, we have such a loving group here. We do have a coaching program to take you to that level that you need, that you want, that your soul is just desiring and really help you to take that into fruition. So if you're interested in that, please, please, please reach out to Renee. She can put her Calendly link in the comments here for you to talk more about that possibility in the Legacy Academy. And we also have the next free masterclass. You will see that I love giving, right? And that's as visionaries, as trailblazers, we often do. So we do have that Align with Your Legacy Masterclass that is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So be sure to register for that, especially if you missed the first one. And of course, we have more coming up, more in the pipeline. So be in tune for that and be aware of that. So I would love to know. Also, reach out to us and let us know what kind of trainings you are looking for, what questions you do have. So, as always, sending so much light and love, and live with curiosity, live with compassion, and let your legacy shine. Mwah.